I understand lots of sci-fi television out there right now, but if you're going to binge a show this weekend, I'd recommend the new sci-fi television series on Netflix based on a 1950s graphic novel. How does that translate? Let's discuss.
Allegory el aire, ¿no?
Nieve en verano.
Está helado.
Now, I want to start here. It's very sci-fi, post-apocalyptic. You know, we've got The Last of Us happening right now on HBO. Yeah, something like this that's very different, but this approaches it much more from a character standpoint rather than the grandness of it all when it comes to this giant snowstorm. And we'll talk about the plot here in a second, but I really want to focus on character because from the first episode, you get a great idea of who we are following, just not why they are here in the first place. This series does a great job throughout the first 3 episodes of kind of hinting, dropping ideas as to what is going on, but slowly revealing that to us and introducing us to the reasoning behind it all as we go. And the back half of the season, 6 episodes total, the last 3 episodes really start to delve into the why this is happening. But it does take a bit to get there, so if you're not a fan of this type of pacing, a lot of conversations, dialogue between characters, that's really what you get, especially in that first episode, when it's building up those characters, and you're just getting little sprinkles of the madness happening on the outside. It's not until we see the outside in the daytime when you start to get an idea, a sense as to what the heck is happening. And I find it so fascinating that it's based on a 1957 graphic novel because it takes the modern approach. And so we're taking those ideas and themes that, from what I read, a lot of other shows and movies have pulled from. So we may be watching the series and thinking, oh, I've seen that idea or concept before. But in reality, where we've seen it before may have actually pulled from this graphic novel. But what the show does is it takes all of those ideas and we're set in a modern day. Well, a modern day with some crazy postmodern twists, but you know what I mean, right? I thought that was a really nice approach. I don't know how it differs from the book because I've never read the novel, so if you have, I would love to see that in the comments. And our main character, Juan Salvo, who we'll talk about, they are battling a threat that's under the direction of an invisible force after a horrific snowfall claims the lives of millions of people. And so the first time we see the outside devastation was shocking for me because, again, I didn't know what this was. Before I watched this show, I didn't know anything. And so post episode 1, episode 2, when we're introduced to some of these ideas, I'm like, what? This is what the show is? I didn't even read a summary. That's kind of crazy. I never go into shows this blind. And so once I finished the series, at least season 1, I dove right into the concepts, the ideas, a couple of articles that notate the differences from the show that I watched to the novel that it's based on. And I find the changes very interesting. Again, I don't hold the source material in high acclaim because I've never read it, and so I feel like the differences could frustrate some people as they're watching, but I was on board with some of the changes that they made, and Juan is a fascinating character because he has the survival skills and really the skills necessary to kind of venture out into the abyss and survive or attempt to survive all of the madness that's happening on the outside, but no one has any answers. No one really understands what is happening in those first few episodes. So there is this level of fear to him and everyone that surrounds him that is extremely approachable as an audience and as a viewer locked in on his character. I was really able to get on board with how he approached things and some of those hesitations that, yes, he has these skills available, but as with every human in an apocalyptic situation like this, in a show that really focuses on characters, there is this realism to him that I really appreciated. And, you know, if you're not on board with how we approach these characters from the beginning, you may not be invested in this show within the first half, because that's a lot of what it is. I mean, we start to get into the devastation of it all, and the first time we approach a group of other survivors in episode 2 on a train, that's all I will say, was like, holy smokes, there is so much more to this than what they are giving us in the first few episodes. And I was so swept up in the mystery of it all, but even though we weren't getting those answers in the beginning, I was still on board with the characters. And so I really like how they approach the script to this show. And again, I want to get my hands on the graphic novel. I also love the themes here. There are political themes at play, and notating those changes may be something that you all are very interested in doing as you're watching this show, if you're fans of the novel. But I want to talk about the idea of survival. And our main character understands that we cannot do this alone. Surviving an event like this crazy, insane snowstorm, but then once we get to the discovery of why this is happening, I'm not saying the series answers every question, but you do start to understand, no, something more is at play here. And that's when my eyes opened up and I said, whoa, it's not just post-apocalyptic. We're going into a new genre at this point, and that is awesome, right? But we would not get there if everyone in this series that is surviving to this point did not understand that we have to do this together. We cannot do it alone. And that was a beautiful message that slowly started to become more prominent as you progress throughout this show, and especially the back half when things start happening. Things happen in the beginning, but it's a lot of build-up. When you start to get those answers of why we are here in the first place, I was completely hooked and kind of mesmerized by something that did take a bit to get there, I'll admit that. And maybe I wasn't in love with episode 1, but it was a nice standard-setting episode. Here's the characters that we're dealing with, and then episode 2 kind of gives you an idea as to what you're in for. It's also just hard not to be invested when Juan Salvo is on screen because of everything that he's dealing with internally, but it's the external heroism that he has to kind of accept. I can help us get to where we need to be, even though those hesitations are very prominent. Again, we're dealing with normal people, for the most part. Some of them have skills. Normal people trying to survive what they perceive as this unsurvivable apocalypse. That is really cool, and I'm so pumped to see how you all feel about the show as a whole. Now, once you get to the end, there are going to be frustrations that ensue from the way season 1 ends off, because it does not give you a concrete ending. That's all I will say, but it does leave it open for a season 2, and with Netflix, you never know if we're going to get a season 2. So I was a little frustrated with the way we ended off, but I am very excited to see more of this. Netflix, I have your email, so come on, bring us more. Bring us more. We deserve it. By the way, I think the filmmaking, for the most part, is really rock solid. I liked some of the camera movements. Now, there were certain scenes and sequences where the CGI did become a little obvious, like, that's not great. It does start to have that, straight-to-streaming Netflix-y vibe at points, but as they steer away from that and focus more on the practicality of it all, especially when we're dealing with this evil snowstorm, is how you perceive it, then everything looks ominous and haunting. It gave me dark. That Netflix show gave me dark vibes at points, just the ominous, haunting feeling of it all. I would love to know how you feel about El Eternauta. Did you enjoy the novel? Are you comparing and contrasting to the series? Or is this show the first time you've ever seen this source material? I am so curious. Leave your thoughts. Share this review if you'd like more Netflix series reviews, and stay tuned. We're talking Thunderbolts tomorrow. And El Eternauta takes its time to build characters and mold this apocalyptic setting, but once the series takes off, there's no looking back. There is so much within the mystery that will have fans of the novel locked in, and the idea of these themes remaining relevant today is explored to perfection. It is a slow start, admittedly, but it's only 6 episodes. You just got to stay the course, and as everything starts to unravel, you're locked in. I was locked in, at least. Maybe I'm on an island, all by myself. Thanks for watching this video. More Netflix reviews to come.